Now, a Ukrainian athlete's been banned from his event at the Winter Olympics in Italy in a dispute over his helmet. Skeleton pilot Vladyslav Heraskevych has been using this helmet in training. It features images of Ukrainian athletes killed during the country's war against Russia's invasion. The International Olympic Committee asked him not to wear it in competition and suggested he wear a black armband to mark his tribute instead. He refused, now he's out. But he has lodged an appeal with the Court of Arbitration for Sport. CAS didn't set a time frame for its decision. The IAC says it does not allow political statements in competition.
You know, I think for me, I don't think we were in tears, but it was, he is an athlete. And for me, I was not speaking to him in that room as a president. I was speaking to him as an athlete. We have these rules in place to try and be fair, and also to try and allow for us to do both things, right? To allow for athletes to express themselves, but also to allow for athletes to be safe.
Well, despite the ban, Vladyslav Heraskevych told DW he's done nothing wrong.
I should be there with all other athletes because I believe this helmet didn't violate any rules, as I told many times already, and didn't also violate any IOC guidelines. And I believe I should be there, and it's frustrating. So we put a lot of effort. We was doing a lot of trainings per 4 years. We was getting ready, and it was also in the time of a full-scale war. So we was really getting ready for these competitions under very hard circumstances.
Let's look into this with Rob Koehler. He's the Director General of Global Athlete in Montreal. That's an athlete-led movement that says it wants to give athletes a voice. Welcome to DW. Let's start with your reaction then to the IOC's refusal to budge on these rules surrounding this helmet.
I mean, just watching the video of Christy Coventry with crocodile tears, quite frankly, she's victimizing the victim. The victim here is Vladislav. These rules are in place and have been put, they're actually guidelines, they're not rules that have been put in place. And simply, we think, is to silence and control athletes in order to favor the IOC's political partners and financial interests. I mean, Russia has done nothing but make a mockery of the Olympic movement. And today in Russia, they are celebrating the banning of Vlad's helmet. And it does not contravene any of the rules in sport. In fact, it's paying celebration to those that have lost their lives. And we've seen this throughout the entire games. We've seen a Canadian athlete talk out about someone that she's lost. We've seen a US figure skater do the same. The difference is they did it after their event. With Vlad, he's shown transparency. So he's openly telling them they're going to do it, and he's being punished for transparency. And you know, the fact that Russia continues to operate and control these games, which they have done since they had institutionalized doping in Sochi, since they've broken the Olympic truce time and time again. Sponsors have that are IOC sponsors have pulled out of Russia. This is a travesty for athlete rights, and shame on the IOC.
Let's look at some of what you've said there. You talked about him being punished for his transparency. The IOC has been very clear. They will allow you to make these demonstrations before and after events, in press conferences, but not during the events. Yes, he told them that this was what he was going to do, and they told him, yes before, yes after, but not during.
But this doesn't fall within the guidelines. This is not a political protest. This is celebration of life, of those people who have lost lives. And with the guidelines, this does not break the guidelines. And this appeal to CAS hopefully will show that. However, I don't have much trust in the Court of Arbitration of Sport because normally they favor institutions over athletes.
Tell us about the process. Tell us about the process. So will they be able to make a decision before Vladyslav Heraskevych actually has to do his event?
Absolutely. They have an ad hoc division of the Court of Arbitration of Sport in Milano, Cortino. They make very quick decisions. This is going to be a single arbitrator that will review it. And I hope they take into consideration what Mark Adams from the IOC said. They said, you know, we just ask him not to wear it for 1 minute going down the track. Well, you know, let's flip it around and say, you know, let him wear it for 1 minute. The story is everywhere. It's international news. The IOC is the one that's put attention to this, not Vlad. And so as a result, we hope the Court of Arbitration of Sport has some reasoned decision that shows some sensibility and permits this to happen and allow him to celebrate his friends, his fellow athletes that have lost their lives. There's nothing political about this.
Well, it's absolutely, because it's political. There's a war going on in his country, and he wants to object to it going on. Of course, it's political. One of the points that the IOC has made is that there are wars going on all over the world. So rather than make an exception for this particular war, they have a blanket exception.
But they actually don't have a blanket exemption. I'll give you a couple examples. One, when Vladislav went down in the Olympics in Beijing, he ended his race with a no war sign. Nothing happened. In Paris Olympics, athletes took to the podiums and crossed their arms in protest. Nothing happened. If you deduct where the factor is here, it's involving Russia and Russia's control potentially over the Olympic movement.
We're going to have to leave it there.
This has been an ongoing situation.
Rob Koehler from A Global Athlete, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, joining me here at the big table now is Jonathan Crane from BW Sports. He's following this story for us. Jonathan, we saw the tears there, but this happened really quickly. Tell me what led to those tears.
Well, in many ways, the tears, if you like, were inevitable. It had all been building up to this. And Kirsty Coventry, who we saw there, met Vladyslav Heraskevych this morning to have one last attempt to convince him not to wear the helmet. But he was always going to stand firm. He wanted to stand firm. The IOC was not going to back down from their position. Heraskevych had already worn the helmet 3 times on 3 training days, but today was the crucial day, competition day 1 of 2. Now, the IOC obviously is clear on its rules, and that's why he didn't want Heraskevych wearing them. Rules on athlete expression, when and where you can protest and make any kind of statements. But he has been defiant, saying people are more important than medals. And after this disqualification, he wrote on social media, "This is the price of our dignity," a really strong message. My colleague, Elisabetta Galla in Cortina, did actually catch up with him as well. And he said, look, if the IOC had just shown some common sense, we could have avoided all this scandal. Because he really thought, he knew the rules. I spoke to him before the Olympics. He knew what the rules are. He knew that they were strict, but he felt that this helmet was within them.
So when he says common sense, he's meaning bend the rules just one time.
I don't know if it's about bending the rules. The IOC is very clear about the field of play being sacrosanct. It wants to keep the field of play clear of any kind of political expression. It's Rule 50. It talks about political religious propaganda. Now, the question is, does remembering the dead count as a political statement? He clearly thinks not. That's the crux of this issue, really.
What have we heard from Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky?
Well, Zelensky, obviously one of many people weighing into this. Zelensky had already thanked Heraskevych before the disqualification for kind of bringing attention to Ukraine and Ukraine's plight. Today, he's obviously been very critical of the IOC. He says the IOC has, quote, played into the hands of the aggressors. He's saying the Olympics should be about trying to stop wars. He also added that, obviously, Ukraine very proud of Heraskevych, that having courage is worth more than any medal. Other people saying, look, the IOC was stuck between a rock and a hard place because of these rules that they say are supposed to protect the safety of athletes. Again, what's unsafe and political about remembering the dead? That's what they're kind of trying to weigh up. Yeah, it's a difficult one. Others saying, look, if you do this, then you open up Pandora's box.
So what recourse, if any, does Heraskevych and Ukraine, what do they have now?
Well, he can go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. That's the top sports court. And in Milan Cortina, where the Olympics are taking place, there is like an ad hoc division, they call it. It's really for fast-track cases so that it can be heard very quickly. But even if he were to be successful there and that were to happen, it's too late for him. Half the competition has already passed. And the big shame is he was a medal contender. He came 4th in last year's World Championships. Just seeing the pictures of him today, he looks absolutely gutted. Yeah. And you can understand why.
Jonathan Crane from BW Sports, good to have you here.